welcome back to the Film and TV channel. Hope you're all stayed safe and well, and we're going to have our continuing look at the new season, Series 16, week 2, yes, of The Apprentice 2022, episode 2, Toothbrush. So please join. We'll have a quick look back, and please, there will be spoilers. You will know who's in and out. So don't be watching this if you want to watch the program. We don't watched it yet. It's just my little views on it. So let's have a quick look at anything interesting, which there certainly was this week. Just a couple of things, guys. The channel's monetized. If you are interested in any of the adverts, just give them a watch. Otherwise, you can just press the skip button, of course, when you get the opportunity. But if you follow any links or stuff, it does obviously help the channel going forward. Obviously, any sort of monetization purpose, if it is something that interests you, that'd be great. Otherwise, just skip through it. It's no big deal. And also, I do have a little, again, a problem with the tooth. So please don't think I've got all goofy. I've got to get to the dentist, and it happened a couple of months ago. It's happened again. I'm going to have to get something a bit more permanent, I think. It did cost me a lot of money, actually, what he did. But obviously, something that's supposed to last 3 or 4 years is only lasting 2 or 3 months at the moment. So I'll have to get that sorted. But please, forgive my goofy look anyway, if you can forget, please. Anyway, listen to what I'm saying rather than watch my teeth in action. But Toothbrush, very, 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 very interesting subject today. Of course, very, what's the word? Coincidence. A coincidence, of course, yeah. So, of course, last week we lost Harry, didn't we? It didn't surprise me when we went cruising. And the girls' team were victorious again, and probably deservedly so, even though, to be honest with you, both pretty rubbish last week, to be honest with you. So there's 15, of course, now remain to fight for the chance to win Mr. Sugar's £250,000. So we got a version of Lord Sugar Fairy. Lord Sugar Fairy, yeah, get it? There's lots of puns. We know Mr. Sugar, don't we? He flew in on the screens at the dental place in London. Their aim is to design a toothbrush aimed at kids between 6 and 8, a very specific age group. Yeah, but when I do sort of my little sort of day job, if you like, obviously the toothbrushes are 3 to 5 and 6 to 8. Yeah, so it's obviously looking at a specific age group, and they have to do an app as well to encourage the kids to brush their teeth. Obviously, on the girls, Sharma was very keen on doing this. She's a nursery owner, as we know, owns a nursery. But Francesca said she'd done something very, very similar in the past, and all the girls seem to agree with that Francesca should be project manager. Sharma had her nose put out a joint a little bit, and she's got to get it put out a joint a little bit more in a minute. Aaron put himself forward on the basis that he had 2 kids. There you go. So that's obviously qualification to take on the project manager role. The fact he's got 2 kids. Well done, Aaron. I assume none of the other guys have got kids, but I'll be very surprised out of how many of them. Is there 16, 8, 7 now, isn't there? 7 left. It's just Aaron, but no one seemed to argue with him anyway. And of course, Sham was a little bit disappointed. She was put on the app team rather than the branding team. She wanted to go on the branding team, so she wasn't doing too well today. And Amy was made, who so far is one of the more vociferous ladies, of course. Amy was made sub leader. The boys, Connor was put on the app duty, and apparently he was an expert. He's an expert at app, so I'm sure the boys are going to win this hands down with Connor in charge of that section. Perhaps not, because his first mistake was getting rid of the gender neutral thing. So you're cutting out half your market already, aren't you? So that was his first big mistake. Not that anyone really complained about it. Another big mistake perhaps was Whiffy the Wizard. Yeah, it probably sounded good at the time. That was another mistake from the boys. Not very good. The girls weren't happy with the logo. I'd say it was a bit too young, but it was okay. But I couldn't see what they were saying. And Sharma sort of was a bit irate that obviously that wouldn't have happened on her watch if she'd have been allowed to get involved in that. And the next mistake the boys made is making a brown toothbrush, which, my first impression, and obviously it was commented on. I was a bit kinder. I said it just looks like a giant poo, but obviously other words were used. We'll get to that in a minute. And the girls one, they had like a planet Saturn, and they could actually put roller coasters, bowling alleys, and stuff on it. I wasn't overly convinced, to be honest with you. I didn't think it looked right. I'm sure they could have up with something else, to be honest with you. Of course, Aaron wasn't impressed when he found out of this Whiffy the Wizard and what happened to the unisex element. I mean, it didn't have to be a boy or a girl, did it? It just had to be, could have been an animal as a wizard. So yeah, I mean, or wizardess. I mean, that is what they call wizards and wizardesses, isn't it? Even though obviously, in theory, you could have wizards and witches. So you could have had some sort of magical creature, shouldn't you, of some sort? So he didn't have to go for a guy, a lad. So that was probably obviously another. It's just mistake after mistake with the boys. Let's be honest about it. When they went to do the pitches, obviously at Booper, I mean the app itself was quite boring, and the people at Booper said it was boring. And interestingly enough, Connor's retort to this was that it's not a PlayStation game. Well, you're not kidding, mate. It wasn't a PlayStation game. The girls were interesting. Yeah, they're much better at presenting, much better. And their app wasn't that great, I didn't think. I mean, it might be all right. It might be okay for the first go, but unless they're going to add to it, and this is what the girls did. They sort of bent over backwards for every question they were asked. So obviously there was a bit of doubt about the age range of the toothbrush. So the probably girls said, well, we can alter that, we can sort that out. And of course, everything the buyers asked for, the girls were far more manoeuvrable. And as a buyer, you're going to go along with that, aren't you? Because they're quite willing to change everything. The kids were funny. The focus group, yeah, they did a focus group, of course, and there's not many of the kids liked either of the products, to be honest with you. But this is where Nick came into his own, the numbers man Nick, because obviously he did say that 50% of the boys would ask their parents to buy it. There's only 2 boys in the group, and one of them sort of put his hand up, but there you go, he's right. It's stats, that's the figures as they are. You can't argue with that. And I say he was going to come into the forefront later when he was speaking to the buyers. The girls at Superdrug. Yeah, Superdrug, they said the character was a little bit scary. It was. But I mean, kids like a little bit of scary, don't they? I think that woman was a bit saying it'll scare the kids, one of the buyers. I'm not too sure about that. I think you could go with the scary thing. You know, if you don't brush your teeth properly, I'm going to come and haunt you. Nothing wrong with that. With kids, they love it. But again, at Superdrug, the girls were willing to change. Again, every comment that was a negative, the girls said, well, we're willing to alter that and do that. So this is where they were winning out even before we saw the figures. And the boys at Superdrug, of course, this is where Nick came into his own, because obviously he quite aptly passed it over to Nick, who was saying that 50% of the target demographic would ask their parents to buy it. So I mean, you know, I was just dreading, or I was hoping, or dreading, I don't know, in equal measure, one of the buyers to actually say, how big was your demographic? How big was your sample? You know, how many people did you ask? And I would have loved to see him Nick had said to, or if he just said, a few dozen. I don't know. Would he have lied? Probably not, because he's on telly, isn't he? But hey, that's life, isn't it? You don't always tell the truth. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending which way you look at it, the buyers didn't ask. And of course, what was a comment, one of the guys at Superdrug said, it looks like a turd. He said that. And would they be willing to change the colour? And again, if it had been the girls, he would have said, yeah, what colour do you want? But obviously it was the lads, and Aaron said no. So that knocked that on the head, didn't it? So, to be honest with you, not much was right with the products, to be honest with you. I thought, obviously, based before, you know, I'd write all this out as I'm watching it and sort of do the script. And I thought the girls just presented better and were willing to bend over backwards. So overall, I couldn't see the girls losing this, to be honest with you, because the lads was atrocious. I mean, the girls wasn't very good, but at least they put it to say, at least they bent over backwards, and they sort of put the presentation together very, very well. So a best of a bad bunch for me, because I don't think either of them were that great again, but with probably the girls. Obviously, when it comes to the boardroom and the figures, the Booper, of course, as you'd expect, nothing for the boys, but they were willing to give the girls 1,000. So obviously, again, based on the fact of changes could be made. And then you go to Superdrug, and the boys again got zilch, so it was all over really, wasn't it? But the girls, yeah, they like the pitch, they like the product. A bit amazed by that, but I think they like the pitch and the product that they came up with because of all the alterations, all the changes they wanted to make. But they ordered 10,000 units, so they are 11,000 units. And overall, I was surprised by the numbers, but obviously it's no surprise that the girls won again, to be honest with you. On the girls' side, I mean, Brittany and Harpreet were sort of virtually non-existent this week. They're going to have to do a little bit of stepping up, a little bit coming out of it to progress in this. Obviously, Francesca did very well, and so as the project manager, very, very vocal. So, yeah, we'll look at more at that in the coming weeks as we get more used to the girls and see who's sort of the top 5 who we think might have a chance with this. And obviously, as far as bringing them back, I knew Aaron would bring back Connor. That was a sort of solid thing to do. But obviously, I put a little hand and a question mark because I wasn't too sure who else he was going to bring back until we got to perhaps the boardroom where he might start arguing amongst themselves and give him an idea. So, Akeem and Alex again were very like the 2 girls I just mentioned. Were they there this week? I thought they might have had COVID and had to isolate or something. Not much. And Navid, yeah, I think he is nice. He's a nice guy. He doesn't like to say anything bad about anyone. But the trouble is that allows him to get bullied. I thought he got bullied just a little bit this week. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's up to him to stick up for himself. But I think they are taking advantage of his sort of weaknesses. So I did think he did have. All right, he's not coming up with other ideas, but he did have sort of doubts about the thing. But as I say, I think he got bullied a little bit this week. I wasn't overly happy with that. And Nick, well, let's face it, at least Nick, he was going to be brought back, wasn't it? I was a little bit shocked because at least Nick tried to bullshit the product, didn't he? At least he tried to say, 50% of the demographic would buy it, sort of thing. So all credit to Nick for making the most of what he had, and that's what he did. So I was a bit surprised by that. And of course, when it comes to it, obviously, when it came to the decision, I wrote down here, Connor is the main guy at fault for me, but Aaron was pretty poor. And yes, Connor was fired, of course, but for me personally, it could have been a double firing. I would also, I think Connor quite rightly was fired, but I think Aaron perhaps should have been fired as well. I know he does that some weeks, doesn't he? Lord Sugar, he fires more than one, but I would have fired both of them, to be honest with you, this week. And of course, Nick escaped. But yeah, I think that's fair enough. I thought he would escape, but of course, Lord Sugar's made the point now of making him project manager for the next task. And going over to You're Fired, which shows on BBC Two, yeah, the panel agreed, said that Sugar made the wrong decision firing Connor. I don't think he did, personally. As I said, I would have been happy with both of them going, but I don't think Connor was that brilliant. I thought Connor was very poor in this week. I mean, that attitude of saying to the guy it's a bit boring, him telling him it's a PlayStation game. I'm sorry, that wouldn't have gone down very well with me. So I think Connor was quite rightly fired, and as I said, I would have fired Nick as well. But obviously the panel, and then it went over to the audience. They were almost unanimous that he shouldn't have been fired. So again, I'm in the minority, guys, but I don't mind that. I don't mind bucking the trend. That I just thought Connor was the guy to get fired, and Aaron got away with it, and he's very lucky. I thought he was okay last week. I thought he was pretty awful this week, to be honest with you. And he's lucky to survive. So obviously, Lord Sugar will be keeping a close eye on him. So there you go. Let me know what you think, anyway, guys. What you thought of the program. And next time, of course, they're putting together a non-alcoholic drink, so that should be quite fun, shouldn't it? Let's see how that pans out. But based on this, I think next week is he going to start mixing the teams? I didn't notice in the sort of little highlights when they show you at the end the mix that he does tend to, and I think he has to, because the boys are going to get hammered every week at the moment because they're not great at the moment. They have to improve vastly, I think. The girls are eating them alive, to be honest with you. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. What have you got to do the rest of the day? Have a great one. Look after yourselves. Excuse me. Look after your friends. Look after your family. And all I ask you to do till we meet again is please stay safe, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.